What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Canelo Alvarez makes his return to the ring this Saturday when he takes on WBA super middleweight champion Callum Smith from the UK. Canelo Alvarez will be also risking his secondary WBA super middleweight title. The fight will take place in San Antonio, Texas at the Alamo Dome. Now, Canelo Alvarez was asked a question recently when he did an interview, and he was asked a question about a potential matchup with Errol Spence Jr. at 160 pounds. Canelo Alvarez says he would like to take that fight, and he would be very much interested in that fight. And in the words of Paul Wall, he had the internet going nuts. Now, everybody talking like this is a done deal. Canelo Alvarez versus Errol Spence Jr. is next if Alvarez defeats Callum Smith this Saturday. And I'm here to tell you that it's nothing but smoke and mirrors, in the words of Errol Spence Jr. It's smoke and mirrors. Canelo Alvarez sees that this fight doesn't have a lot of buzz. It's not a lot of people talking about this potential matchup because a lot of people don't even know who the hell Callum Smith is, number one. Number two, the last several years, Canelo Alvarez has been fighting on the zone, and his visibility has taken a hit. A lot of people have not been watching his fights, not able to see his fights due to the fact it's on the app. When he's fighting on HBO pay-per-view, people could order the fight at home, have huge parties, barbecue, and put fajitas on the pit, and the fight would be a big celebration, big party around Canelo Alvarez's fight. But with the fight being on the app, a lot of people are not able to watch the fight. A lot of people have to go to sports bars to watch Canelo Alvarez fight. A lot of people don't know how to work the app. A lot of people older people don't want to, kind of get in with the times, get up to date with the times of the day. And a lot of people don't want to get on their phone and watch the fight on their phone and take the time to download the Zone app so they're able to watch a Canelo Alvarez fight. A lot of people don't want to do that. They're kind of set in their ways, and they're like, I don't want to watch it on the app. I'm not going to watch it on the phone. So his visibility has taken a hit. So this fight being on the Zone and now actually being on the Zone pay-per-view, a lot of people were saying, the Zone is here to stay. This is going to be the downfall of pay-per-view. There's no more Fox pay-per-view, no more Showtime pay-per-view, no more ESPN pay-per-view. And now here it is, the Zone is doing pay-per-view for the Canelo Alvarez versus Callum Smith fight. That's neither here nor there, but what I'm hearing myself personally is the more realistic option for Canelo Alvarez if he defeats Callum Smith is Caleb Plant in a unified super middleweight titles matchup, provided that Caleb Plant defeats Caleb Truax January 30th on Fox. That fight was announced yesterday. Now, if both fighters are successful, they're looking to put together Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant, Cinco de Mayo 2021. Now, as far as Errol Spence Jr. is concerned, I'm hearing that his next opponent, which is slated to take place in the summer of 2021, would be either Keith one-time Thurman, or Josecito Lopez, who fought on the undercard of the Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia fight. If Errol Spence Jr. is successful in that fight, whoever he fights out of those two, and Manny Pacquiao is going to take a comeback fight, knock off the rust type of fight, versus Jamal James, who's the WBA interim welterweight champion, or Mikey Garcia. If Pac-Man is successful in that fight against either one of those two guys, then the PBC will be looking to make Errol Spence Jr. versus Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao for November of 2021. That's the more likely scenario for both fighters. So this fight is at least 2 fights away, ladies and gentlemen. At least 2 fights away. So despite all these people doing these videos, breaking the fight down, saying Errol has a chance to make history by jumping up 2 weight class and defeating the pound-for-pound king and Canelo Alvarez, just like Alvarez had problems with Mayweather, he's going to have problems with Errol Spence Jr. Some people are saying Canelo Alvarez is going to smash Errol Spence Jr. because Errol Spence Jr. is too small, jumping up the weight class. He's not has the skill level of a Floyd Mayweather Jr. to fight a bigger guy like Canelo Alvarez and beat him comfortably. He's going to have problems. And Canelo Alvarez is just too big, and Canelo Alvarez is a much more developed fighter than he was when he fought Floyd Mayweather Jr. He's a complete fighter now, and he'll just be too big and too skillful for Errol Spence Jr. A lot of people are just making their prediction like this fight is just a done deal. But I'm here to tell you that this fight is at least 2 fights away. And the most likely scenario is Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant. Because Canelo Alvarez stated a couple of weeks ago that he wanted to fight all the champions at 168 pounds to become undisputed. He wanted to unify all the titles at 168 pounds. So he's fighting the WBA champion in Callum Smith. He's able to defeat him. He's looking to fight the IBF champion in Caleb Plant. He gets through with Caleb Plant, which is a big if. Then it's only one title left, and that's the WBO super middleweight champion in Billy Joe Saunders. So like I said, this fight is at least 2 fights away. At least 2 fights away. Now, as far as Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant, that's a 50-50 fight style-wise. That's a 50-50 fight style-wise. 50-50 fight style-wise. But the question that's going to get answered that night is, will the occasion get to Caleb Plant? He's never been in a fight of that magnitude. He fought Vincent Figueroa, which did 1.9 million views on Fox, which was the highest rated boxing card of 2020 on Fox. And then the year before, in 2019, he fought Ugatoski on Fox Sports 1. And that did big numbers on Fox Sports 1. And that was the highest rated boxing card on Fox Sports 1 in 2019. So he's shown to be a big draw. He's got the complexion for the connection. He's got a great personality. He's got a mouthpiece on him. He'll sell the hell out of the fight. He'll try to get under Canelo Alvarez's skin. And I think that'll be a big promotion. And I think the fight would do huge numbers on Fox pay-per-view. The fight could take place at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, or the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. So it'll be a huge, huge event on Cinco de Mayo 2021. So that's what I'm hearing. That's the more likely scenario for Canelo Alvarez and the most likely scenario for Errol Spence Jr. This scenario for Errol Spence Jr. is going to leave Terrence Bud Crawford stuck like Chuck. I don't know what Terrence Bud Crawford going to do. I'm hearing he's in negotiation with Sean Porter. He's able to get by Sean Porter. His contract runs out in October 2021. He should be looking to sign with the PBC or at least be a free agent and do what Canelo Alvarez do and work with different promoters on a fight-by-fight basis, provided that they set him up with the biggest fights possible. He's able to work with different promoters. But all the welterweights are pretty much with Al Heyman. So his best bet is to sign with Al Heyman. And then he'll be able to get fights against top-notch competition at the PBC. So we'll see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But it'll be a good fight, man. Caleb Plant has a high-level skill set. But will the occasion get to him? That's the question that needs to be answered. Will the big fight atmosphere get to him? I remember Timothy Bradley when he fought Manny Pacquiao. He said coming to the ring out the dressing room, he had butterflies. He said unlike the butterflies he had when he fought, Lamont Peterson or Devin Alexander, he was able to get by those guys, Kendall Holt, those guys. He said it was just a different experience, and he said it took him a couple of rounds to get his legs up under him, to get his gatherings. And he ended up rallying and winning a much disputed decision win over Manny Pacquiao in a fight that most people thought he lost. But that might have been the problem of him in that fight, the slow start of that fight. He started off very slow. He was able to rally in the second half of that fight, and I thought he actually won enough rounds to get a draw. I had a 6-6, actually. But it was a fight that was dominated, especially early on, by Manny Pacquiao. And the occasion got to Timothy Bradley. I think Canelo Alvarez and his team will be hoping the same happens to Caleb Plant. That's why they're trying to get him while he's close to his peak, but I think he's still a little bit green, maybe 95% of what his capability of maxing out at as far as Caleb Plant goes. And I think they think it's better to get him earlier than later, because they actually go the Billy Joe Saunders route and try to fight him and then fight Caleb Plant. But Caleb Plant is going to only get better and better. So I think that's the thinking of Canelo Alvarez and his team, to get Caleb Plant right now where they think he's still a little green, and then maybe the atmosphere and the big fight experiences can get to him, and they're able to capitalize on that and get the victory over Caleb Plant. So we'll see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts on Caleb Plant versus Canelo Alvarez, Cinco de Mayo 2021. That's the more likely scenario for Canelo Alvarez. And let me know your thoughts on Errol Spence Jr. versus Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, November 2021. Both guys got a lot of work to do to get to that point, but that's the route that both guys are going on, not facing each other. Let me know your thoughts and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I'll holla.